did not expect this.
Honestly, looking at this past week, shoot, Colt McCoy need to be in that discussion.
Does that mean Arch Manning is starting next year?
The NFC West of the last 2 years.
But, you know, I think that, but like...
Have you ever heard of a team won the ball 49 times in a game?
That was good.
I don't think nobody should go to Detroit.
Let's get this show on the road.
I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational, but that just wouldn't be our style.
Let's get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, episode 3 of the 3rd and Hammer podcast. I am your host, Chief Keith, alongside my partners in crime. Say what up to the people.
What's going on, y'all?
What up, y'all? Let's get it.
Alrighty. So back with episode 3. As we always mention, here to talk NFL takes, sometimes college, much more. But before we get things started, we'd be remiss not to mention the 3 fallen football players, the 3 individuals from the University of Virginia: Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Deshaun Perry. Wanted to give a moment of silence for those guys. Rest in peace. All right. Now, without further ado, as I mentioned, we'd like to go ahead and start things off as we usually do. We go ahead and recap, our games for this past weekend. Being the resident Giants fan, I'll start myself back in MetLife, where we took on the Houston Texans this past weekend. I ended up winning that game 24-16. Keynotes in the game: Saquon Barkley, 35 carries for $152 and 1 touchdown. Darius Slayton, 3 catches. I believe he had over about 56 yards or such, somewhere around that number. Touchdown as well. A big day on the running game, especially with the time of possession. Key takes from this game. I knew my team were just not built to really dominate any opponent in that sense. Very one-dimensional right now. Still kind of working on the passing game and such. Got some pieces out, so hopefully, we'll be able to start to work in Wandell, try to get him going. Kenny Golladay, man, it's crazy. 2 attempts, 2 passes, 2 drops. I think it's jitters at this point, starting to be a mental thing. Two balls thrown this way, 2 drops. He leaves out the first half against bench for Isaiah Hodgins, which we just picked up off the Bills practice squad. This guy comes in the game. He's already got, I think, 49 yards, 3 catches. So he immediately goes in, makes an impact. From my perspective, hopefully we can get Kenny Golladay going, because we're definitely going to need him, especially for next week against Detroit, who, despite what their record may be, they can definitely put some points up for sure. So we're definitely going to need to start working on that running game. They're going to, be keying in on Saquon, as everybody usually does when it's time to play the Giants at this point. Hopefully we get him going. Kayvon Thibodeau gets more active. A little quiet this game. Another big game for Sexy Dexy. Was getting pressure all game. Got a couple sacks as well. Hopefully working in the next week, we can see what's the status on the Z's. I think we still might have a couple weeks or so before he comes back. And we know pretty much we're going to have to get through all November without Xavier McKinney. So big loss for us, but nevertheless, man, we keep it chucking. 7-2, now sitting at number 2 in the NFC East. Moving on to Detroit next week. That's all for the Giants. What you guys got over there at FedEx Field? What you guys got?
Upset of the year.
Yep, I did not expect that. They beat the Steelers when they were undefeated 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Bucks when they were 3-6 last year, but I just did not expect. I did not expect this. I'll start by saying this, and I'll pose this question to you guys. Have you ever heard of a team won the ball 49 times in a game?
I don't know, maybe to that extent, but it's possible to consider what we just ran the ball.
I mean, it was 35 times for Saquon, so
Yeah,
it's not out of the realm of possibility. But I think what you're getting at is Scott Turner had a game plan and they ran it to perfection.
Yeah, and the thing was, seeing that y'all game, like, because I think y'all guys are still at like Brian Robinson averaging like 3 yards a carry, but it's just the fact, they just kept going, kept giving them the ball, kept running it. So I can definitely see that.
I think they learned something from that Minnesota game. They're like, Tyler Heineke, you're not gonna lose the game for us. Like, we're gonna rely on this defense, and we're gonna rely on Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, and hopefully they can be successful. Well, the play action is very effective, and it was very effective last night. The play action was everything in this game because of the running game success.
Now I will say take advantage because Jordan Davis wasn't out there. So I
Yep.
mean, I definitely would have took it like they did. If he's not there, plugging him the middle, take advantage with the running game, like you said, get the play action going. And then you can kind of draw it in from there because it seems like y'all just kept getting on the move and Philly's defense really couldn't get off the field.
They had the right game plan. You needed to keep Hurts off the field because that offense is too much. Between all three Batmans, Goddard, then you have Miles Sanders. Then on top of that, Jalen Hurts, his game is so multifaceted. Not only can he throw and beat you with his arm, he can beat you with his legs. And on top of that, he's an actually really intelligent quarterback. I don't know if you guys saw it. I was talking with Grayson earlier about it. Robert Griffin III, he did a clip with Jalen Hurts, Mike Vick, and Donovan McNabb before the game for ESPN. And it was fantastic to watch, to kind of see those guys and how they've innovated and changed the game and how Jalen Hurts is continuing that today. But at the end of the day, they ran a game plan to control what they could control, keeping Jalen Hurts off the field. That's the first thing you need to be able to do. You're not exposing your defense and putting them in bad situations. You keep running the ball simply to build off the play action, which is how Heineke can make the best plays. Break him outside the pocket off the play action. He can go deep on you there, and you can take some chances and let it rip, which is where he's great. And then on top of that, short yard situations, short third down situations, those are more easily to convert. And so you're not putting him in a situation where he has to throw a 12-yard pass where he had and you need it to convert. It's 3 yards. We can run it. We can throw it. He can get it with his legs. And that's exactly what we saw last night, except in the fourth quarter. That interception was a bad toss-up. This is week 3 in a row that Heineke has put the ball up in the air, hoped for his receivers to make a play. This time, it was just a poor placement. Terry had to make an adjustment back to the center of the field.
I don't know what he
where I told everybody, if he would have put that on the left shoulder out towards the sideline, he had Darius Slay behind him, and then Gardner was coming across over top, so it was too far behind. It was because where Heineke put that ball, he got picked. But that's Heineke's game, and we know that. So you have to play smart in that kind of situation, which for the most part they did in excellent fashion. Brandon Graham, that was a stupid ass penalty in the end of the game. Heineke gave himself up for the sack, and momentum maybe carried him a little too much, but at the end of the day, he gave himself up clear as day before you even really launched. It was a great game, upset of the year easily. This team is fired up. Too many people have talked about putting Carson Wentz back in the field once he's healthy. There's so many reasons why you shouldn't. I think first the draft compensation, and then Heineke just has the team. He has the crowd. Me, Grayson, we as fans, we like watching Heineke way more than Wentz. If you guys remember the movie The Replacements, it's my favorite movie. This guy reminds me of Shane Falco.
Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
He's right-handed Shane Falco making plays, scoring touchdowns, winning games. Let's go DC Sentinels.
And he does the opposite of what Carson Wentz did before he got injured. Like, yeah, I know that during the off season, McLaurin was dealing with his contract, so he was quote unquote holding out, but that's no excuse. He's your top paid offensive weapon for a reason. You give that boy an opportunity to make plays because he's the best offensive player on your team. Wentz didn't understand that McLaurin needed the ball, but Heineke understands that, and I think that's why why he's excelling is because he knows when in doubt, give McLaurin the ball. Now, do I
Yeah,
hope that do I hope that they have another option? Yes, but I tend to believe Dotson first game back after missing 5 straight. It was a ramp up period for him. They don't want to go from 0 to 100 all in one game. So hopefully next Sunday you get a little more Dotson and hopefully you're able to utilize multiple receivers. Because let's face it, Samuel does all of his
It's short
yeah,
pitches, jet sweeps, that kind of thing.
anything around the line of scrimmage. Samuel's not gonna go out on a deep route. He's gonna. I mean, he's effective at it, but he's gonna stay on the line of scrimmage. You need someone to offset some of the coverage that McLaurin gets. So I hope that Dotson is more effective
now
next Sunday.
Now I will say, because I tend to agree with you in the sense of, keep Heineke out. Yeah, you'll get the interceptions, but at the same time, I think, you'll get an interception of Carson Wentz. We all know that. And then, you got a more mobile option in Taylor Heineke. So I think, definitely keep Taylor Heineke out there. And he's got the momentum right now, especially coming off of this win. Just keep rolling the dice, especially, as far as for that draft capital. Now, if we look at on the opposite side, how do we feel about it? Because next week, you get Chase Young back, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, we do.
So and who y'all got on the board for next week?
The Texans.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's definitely
Which isn't
good.
going to be a pushover game. I mean, they are terrible. It's an awful situation up there. Davis Mills is regressing terribly, but I think that's more
Damon Pierce is a
culture.
runner,
And hey, Damon Pierce is the only bright spot of that team. Period, of that offense. I think he had 95 yards against you guys off of 10 or so touches. So he's continuing a great rookie campaign. But at the end of the day, Davis Mills is regressing because of coaching. Coaching inconsistency. That whole place is just a shithole. No wonder Brandon Cooks was pissed that he wasn't traded. I mean,
and we'll get more into that later on, but I will say I don't expect an immediate impact from Young on Sunday, but I do hope that his presence unleashes Montez Sweat even more because, I mean, he's not going to make an impact more than likely, but you're going to have to stop double teaming Montez Sweat because you have to shift your focus and say, okay, Montez Sweat is 100% healthy, but we still have to deal with, I'm going to say 85% of Young. He deserves at least one body.
it's gonna be on a pitch count, and they're gonna do a ramp up again too, which will be smart, especially if we're trying to make a playoff push. It's gonna be important that they do the smart things. And then long term with his career, I mean, you want him to be ready before he comes back. You don't want another RG knee situation and waste the second overall pick again, essentially. So at this point, for me, the big takes for that next game also is, and kind of what you were talking about with McLaurin. I mean, I think this last game was almost 40% targeting McLaurin, which is great. I mean, the guy is he's going to go after, get it. He's a great guy, but you're right. You need to spread out the ball to make your offense that much more dangerous. And it's going to open up the field inside for Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson that much more, where they become even more effective, making the play action passing game that much more effective.
Oh, it's going to be interesting to see, man, because interesting weekend. Both New York and Washington get a win.
Can we briefly talk about the transformation of the NFC East? I mean, it went the last 2-3 years. It went from the NFC least. I mean, that's what they were calling it too. Like, it's probably one of the best divisions in football right now. Like, all teams are above 500. I mean, as of right now,
Shocking.
man,
It is shocking for sure. But they've always been up and down. There's always been, two. But like at this point, 4 teams are pretty solid. The Washington's on the up, and no one thought that was going to happen. So
I think San Fran has a half game lead on them because they had a bye and we had an extra loss. So they're 5-4 and we're 5-5.
So for you guys, what was the game of the week? What do you guys think?
I think besides the Philly Washington game, we can go ahead and get into this Bills and Vikings game for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That was it was pretty, that could be a potential Super Bowl matchup. They're both leaders of their conferences. Captain Kirk. Can we talk about this guy?
You gotta put some respect on Kirk's name, man. I feel like he's kind of teetering right now. Like, I feel like if I had to look at it, he's kind of in that he's in that Matt Stafford kind of situation because like because I saw a thing like, okay, say Hall of Famer if he gets a Super Bowl, and like personally I would say no, but like considering they're probably going to be a big chance that Matt Stafford somehow ends up in there because of the whole situation, I feel like if he gets in, do you have to put in Kirk? Because I mean, Kirk is getting right. Kirk has always had the numbers. It's just always been about prime time, big game situations. Can he come through or can he not? And I think if he could propel his team to do so, then I think that's definitely a conversation to be had. But I think for right now, like, and I'm seeing it a lot, people just aren't really respecting Minnesota for whatever reason. And I mean, you look at it like, of course, catch of the year, Justin Jefferson. You got Adam Thielen, who's a red zone guy. Right then and there, TJ Hawkinson can do it all essentially. Blocking, catching. You still got Dalvin Cook to worry about. You flipping on the opposite side, Zarius Smith, leading the lead with sacks and such.
Danielle Hunter coming off the edge. He had a pass block that was he just easily got after it.
Harrison Smith, I think he got one. We've seen a revitalization of Pat P. He had 2 in this game. So I mean, they definitely got the pieces to go. I don't think nobody's getting close to them in that division.
Shout out to Patrick Peterson, man, for that pick. I mean, I'm really curious. Is that Josh Allen's arm that he could? Because that's normally a toss that he can get behind. I don't know if that injury is affecting him. And
no.
Patrick, you think Patrick Peterson came under it perfectly?
Number one, shout out to PEDs. I want to say that first of all. Number 2, I think he did, but like here's the thing, yo. Like, we have to really take it for what it is. And mind you, like, Josh Allen is still young. I think we get caught up in the sense of like thinking like these dudes are already older than they are, so he still has room for development. Mind you, he took a big leap, like from where he was pretty much about to be, super bottom quarterback to like being like top 3 in the league. But at the same time, like, I saw it earlier, he took a leap in the fact of being able to do the big plays. But I mean, he still will give you room to to really get him out of there. And like some of the stuff he does is just like, he'll throw those picks at the most inconvenient time, whether it's that inconvenient handling the ball on the fumble snap. And like, and unfortunately, like, God forbid it happens, like I wouldn't be surprised if he did something like extra that he really didn't need to do. Like, for instance, he does a stiff arm, or like how he did in this game on a bad shoulder, on the bad arm that he has. He's throwing his arm into somebody trying to break a tackle. And like, it's just things like that like, yo, you're the superstar of the team. Yeah, but like at the same time, like, especially being a quarterback, like, you got to understand, yo, sometimes, yo, it's okay, like, live to fight another day. And like, yo, you have to understand that I'm the superstar of the team. If something happens to me, like, the season's pretty much over with. So like, you throwing your arm, doing stuff like that, you're throwing, and this is like what, 2-3 weeks in a row, like he's thrown like one of the most inconvenient picks, like to pretty much cancel out the game and such. And like, they were just lucky to, with that Gabe Davis situation, that was not a catch. Like, they're lucky just to have a chance to go into overtime.
Yeah, I don't even consider the pick. Like, yeah, the pick was what ultimately lost the game, but I go right back to that fumble after you stopped the Vikings on 4th down. Like, I thought the game was over. The stadium thought the game was over. Everyone thought the game was over. You cannot fumble the snap on the goal line. All you need to do is QB sneak it to the 2-yard line and
When you
game over.
fumble and you fumble the snap, not only you fumble it to where you might get a safety, you fumble the snap and give up a touchdown.
That's uncalled for.
I have a stat for you guys. Josh Allen had 6 carries for 84 yards. So when you're in that red zone in overtime at that point, why are you throwing the ball? You're already abusing this guy. Let's use his legs to get that last 10 yards in.
No, they have no running game. That's why he's gonna. You said what?
But he led the team yesterday with 84. Devin
That's
Singletary
why.
had 13 for 47 and 2 touchdowns.
That's why they don't got no running game. You giving him, he got 100 yards on rushing, damn near, and then he got like 50 attempts and throwing the ball. At the end of the, and that's a big thing with the Bills.
43.
As good as
Captain
good.
Kirk had 50 as well, though. A 34.5 passer rating. That is,
And as good as the Bills are, that's their deficiency. You're gonna get further along in the season, and then in the playoffs, at some point, you're gonna have to be able to run the ball effectively. And we aren't talking about Josh Allen. Like, somebody over there is gonna have to be able to run that ball effectively. Like, those mistakes, I don't know what's going on. Like, I think at this point, he's kind of taking himself out of the MVP race, at least for right now. But something's gonna have to give, because you're looking at like that division. They're sitting at 3rd place right now at that division because of that. Really, I mean, we got Miami,
and then
that's still wrong.
The Jets that beat them a week ago. So
and you lost to Miami.
Shocking. Yeah, and then I think they got the Jets in a week or two. So I got another stat and then another question for you. Justin Jefferson, 10 catches, 194. Stephon Diggs, 10 catches, 114. Who are you taking?
That's tough.
That's really tough.
I mean, I'll go first, but it is tough. I'm taking Justin Jefferson.
Because I saw, like, people are talking about, like, the catch that Justin Jefferson made, which I think is definitely catch of the year.
He ripped that out of his hand. It was a pick. He ripped it out of his hand.
But Stephon had a crazy catch, though, too. Like, he had one where, like, Josh, like, kind of really overthrew that joint. And he one-hand caught that joint, too, and brought that down for a first down as well. That joint was crazy. They ain't talking too much about that, but I would say, like, it's weird because they definitely brought up, like, these guys had a showing out, not pretty much like an all-star performance, and they're the 2 guys that got traded for each other. I mean, I guess right now you got to go with JJ. I think he's the best in the league right now. But, like, I mean, Stephon isn't that far off, honestly. Like, and if we be honest, like, that's kind of hard to say just because of the, Justin Jefferson's only been here a couple of years.
I think it's 3 years. He's led the league in like his first 3 seasons with yards and catches. Overall, super impressive. I think I'd have to go with. This is hard. I think I'm going Justin Jefferson.
I mean, you have to go Justin Jefferson because I feel
his route
like,
running is incredible.
Yes, and I feel like they're not the same team without him. I mean,
I think that goes both ways.
You look at this game alone, Justin Jefferson at 10 for 193. The next closest was Thielen, 5 for 49, whereas Diggs was 12 for 128, and Gabe Davis was 6 for 93. So you almost had 2 receivers with 100 yards. Granted, that kept in the 4th quarter, so it counted, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I got, because I mean,
but
I have to say, I say I probably got right now, if I had to pick 4, like, I got JJ, then I got Tyreek, and then I got Stephon.
Yeah, I think as far as comparing these 2, I think it's JJ just because I don't know what the Vikings are without him. I really don't.
I definitely agree, but, like, It's gonna be interesting because I think Tyreek Hill is about to break some records this year too.
Oh
Oh yeah,
yeah.
no, 100%. Which super shocking. Who would have thought? But the way they've utilized him has been genius. Which can bring us to our next point, is kind of whipping around the league real fast. The Dolphins beating the Browns. How does this team look like with Watson back?
Um, I mean,
They
Prac-
could potentially be 3-7, maybe
it's
4
over
and
with.
6. It's over with. You don't
Yeah.
think it's worth it? Is it worth it even having?
No, it's over with. Cause he's coming back, but then you're still going to have to find your rhythm with him at quarterback, regardless of how they practice. It's just too much close call. Like you're not going to get 3 teams coming out of that division. You got Baltimore. Their schedule is looking fairly easy for us of the year. People are really banking on Cincinnati. I don't see it, but you still got those 2 teams. So
There's too many teams coming out of the AFC East for even Cincinnati to even maybe make it out of their own division. So
and Cleveland was just holding on, just like they were just trying to hold on till he gets back. Obviously, they failed. They've lost too many games at this point. So
many.
I also think that the outside media is gonna be too. The outside media and the outside fans is gonna be too much for Deshaun Watson, especially for away games. Cause you remember that preseason game in Jacksonville, the Jacksonville fans were saying, "You sick fuck! You sick fuck! You sick fuck!" I think during the regular season, especially when these games start meaning something, these away games specifically are going to be too much to overcome, in my opinion.
I think that's gonna start, but like honestly, like okay, these are with all the allegations and stuff. I also look at a thing like, okay, how long ago was it like before they stopped doing all that stuff? Like, and it's not the same by any means, but we all know how America cares about their animals. So, like, how long did it take before like they stopped doing that to Michael Vick?
He was in a situation where he didn't have to start. He was behind Donovan. He slowly transitioned. I think he was able to curate his public persona again and make amends to the best of his ability while he was there, until he was put in a position that he did have to start. And Mike Vick did what Mike Vick does. He played at a better level because of the coaching that he now had and the perspective on the game. But he was able to win, and if you win, no one gives a shit what you did. No one cares.
That's what I'm saying. So like, this season's probably lost, but like he comes in there and starts winning games, and then that transitions into next year, and then winning games. It's like we're not gonna care. Yeah.
Falcons at Panthers on Thursday Night Football. Panthers somehow pulling out that victory. PJ Walker getting hurt, so I think they're going back to Baker. Who really cares? It's all trash. First game in Germany, I thought this was really cool. Bucks and Seahawks. I think the Seahawks were pretty shell shocked. I think it was the situation. Maybe if they played in Tampa, I think Seattle would have had a better chance of winning. Maybe it was just the whole week threw them off. Gino's still looking pretty good. I still like him for comeback player of the year. Maybe not MVP. If he would have got this win, maybe we could keep that conversation going.
My big takeaway for that game is, I don't know if it was just a one-off for this game, but the Buccaneers were able to win the football, and they haven't done that all year. Like, at some point, Brady's great. We all get that. But he's 45 years old. He can't do it all. So at some point, they're going to have to establish a running game. And they established that on Sunday. And I think that was a big reason they won that football game, is because they didn't rely on Brady to be the savior and say, like, we don't have anything beside you, save us. They win the football, and I think that helped them win that game.
I think it's the first game in a while that it was less than 30 pass attempts.
The NFC South is the NFC least of the last 2 years. So, like, everything's in play for Brady and the Buccaneers. Like, they just need to continue to win the football, and I think they will easily host a playoff game in January, because I mean, I don't see them losing the NFC South. Do you guys?
No,
Not really.
no,
I mean,
no,
at
it's
first
trash.
maybe a little Atlanta, but not really though. I think
Mariota's not that good.
that one's on his
Like he can
butt.
win games, but he's not that good. He's a backup.
Well, we get the recaps. I mean, we got our sleeper game. Did we want to burst into the question for the week?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, the question that I wanted to pose: how important is QB2? Who has the best QB2? Who has the best backup QB situation in the league? Who would you say?
I think QB2 is sinful in this league. I really do. Like, I think it's outside of your starting offense and starting defense. I think it's the next most sinful position, because you don't know, especially how the quarterback position is evolving, where they're escaping the pocket, extending plays, gaining yards with their feet. You just don't know when your starter's going down, and you need a quarterback that you can rely on to be like, hey, he can go in and we may lose the game, but we're not gonna get humiliated. And there may be another game where you might squeak one out.
If I had to say a couple of guys, I mean, I'd probably say I think Taylor Heineke's in that discussion.
Yeah.
Typically, I would say Tyrod is probably in that discussion, and then I would probably honestly looking this past week, shoot, Colt McCoy need to be in that discussion.
Oh yeah.
Yo, Colt McCoy is
facts.
tier 1 backup. That guy can win. He's
Mhm.
won games as a starter in the league. He won games in college, and I think Taylor Heineke is just Colt McCoy 2.0. Honest, if we're being honest, I think another name to put in that tier, Jacoby Brissett. The guy who's won a lot of games. I don't know necessarily whether you want to put him in that tier or is he a low end starter. Jimmy G.
He's a starter. I'm not doing that.
You calling him a starter?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
technically
not
to start the season, he was the backup.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Nah, he's a starter.
How do you feel about so my tier 2? I'm going with Gardner Minshew Mania. He's won some games. Tyler Huntley, he was a pretty solid transition for Baltimore when Lamar went down last year.
I think so, but I mean, the Gardner Minshew I could see. Tyler Huntley, I could see that. And I think that kind of, agrees, because I think with Tyler Huntley, the game plan doesn't change that much from where it was with Lamar in a sense. The same way I think if Daniel Jones goes out, the gameplay doesn't change that much when Tyrod comes into the game. So I mean, I could see that. It's just if we really throwing their names out there, how many games you gotta really have played?
That was so I got a tier list that I made, and it was kind of difficult because that was something that I was really questioning, how many games. Because also on tier 2 with these guys, I had Bailey Zappi.
That's a decent one.
I think he's solid. I think tier 2 is they're guys that can come in, win games, have won some games. Maybe not a lot of experience, but yeah.
Facts.
They have high ceilings.
Mac Jones a backup to me.
I think that might be very interesting in the off season.
Joe Flacco.
Because a team out there was gonna be like, okay, Patriots, you pick your starter, Jones or Zappi, and we'll offer you a compensation for the one that you don't choose. So I could see whoever they choose going into 2023 being on a different team. I really can see that.
I definitely could see that happening.
I could see Bill Belichick keeping both.
That I can also see Belichick doing until he can get whatever he wants out of them. Tier 3, Teddy Bridgewater. I put your guy Tyrod in this category, and then Cooper Rush.
No, Cooper Rush probably got to be he got to be tier 1.
I don't think. If anything, I can put him in tier 2 with the Bailey Zappi and Tyler Huntley because of how many games. I mean, we've only seen him 7 games. total?
Exactly.
Hey,
He's
but he like ain't he like undefeated in them games? Or he
I
like one
know
loss?
he is. He is undefeated, I think, but I don't give him tier 1 because he hasn't played in enough games.
All right, so
What do you have
tier
like 4 or 5 starts this year?
I think he had 6.
I
think he had
think
6 this
he-
year and 1 last year. So
Yeah, he ain't lost the game. That's like tier 1. What we
I think he
doing?
needs a little bit more time than that.
He better than
uh,
Dak, ain't he?
Hey,
Let me
that's
tell
I'm
you.
not gonna die. I'm not.
that's another topic for
That's
another
another
day.
topic. Tier 4. I got
How you
the
be
Red
tiers you
Rifle,
got?
Andy Dalton. I got 5 tiers.
How
I
you,
got
who
Andy.
gets worse than that?
Just listen. Andy Dalton, Joe
Nathan
Flacco,
Peterman.
Nick Foles, and Case Keenum, the old heads, the guys that have just bounced around the league for a bit of time. They did some things. They're a little bit over the hill. But if
Nah,
I need
Nick
him to
Foles
come
is
in for
not
like
tier
a
4.
series or two, finish off the half, I'm okay with it.
He a Super Bowl winning quarterback. We're not doing that.
All right,
Nick Foles tier
and then
4.
tier 5, it's the garbage first round picks. The Jordan Love, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Drew
All
Lock.
right. See. Nah, you holding Jordan Love. I can't even put Jordan Love in a tier yet because he didn't play like one game. Has he even played?
Game.
Yeah, if that, I can't even put him in a tier yet. We not
Let
doing
me
that.
let me ask you, who would you rather have, Jordan Love or Desmond Ritter?
I don't know. I ain't never
Desmond-
seen neither one of them play.
I mean,
But
but
like
I've,
from potential what draft and all that stuff, college maybe.
as a front office, and I'm strictly talking front office. I'm doing Desmond Ritter because he has more years on his rookie contract.
Yeah, I mean it's a
Smart.
coin flip, honestly. I mean, heads Jordan Love, tails Desmond Ritter. I don't really give a shit. I'm gonna lose the game anyway. So I mean,
Hey, Ali mentioned his name. I didn't think we were gonna talk about him, but we are. Did y'all see that Baker Mayfield is gonna start this week? Is Carolina saying like we don't know who the fuck's gonna start it?
Well,
Week in
PJ
and
Walker
week
got
out.
hurt, so
yeah, PJ's hurt, and then I mean, what's his name? It's kind
Sam
of back him.
Darnold.
Corral
Yeah,
is injured, so he
yeah.
hasn't played all this
Yeah,
year. so
Sam
he's not-
Darnold's gonna back him up.
Oh yeah, that's a name I forgot. What happened to Matt
He had
Corral?
like an ACL injury or something like that.
ACL or something. I don't
Yeah,
remember,
season.
but-
It was out for the year.
I just found that out this morning that Baker's gonna start this
and
week.
they're probably gonna lose, but we'll get to that when we get to our picks. Which congratulations, Keith, you led us last week 9-5 in picks. So I got 7-7. Grayson, you're bottom of the barrel, 5-9. We all thought the Eagles were gonna win, and that was a shit show. Same with the Bucks, the Atlanta game, and the Bears game. We were wrong there, guys. Can we give a quick shout out to Justin Fields? Back-to-back games where he had over 130 yards on the ground. This man is single-handedly trying to win
That's
games.
my man, but you win the game, man.
They're gonna kill him though. They're gonna kill him.
I just feel so. I mean, he's talented. Like I see it. I'm just with, and maybe like Keith, I get a sense that you're really Justin Fields is your guy, so maybe you can find me. I just feel sorry for him, man, because he has the talent. I see it, but
like
I don't see it under this roster. Like they're doing a poor job of supporting Justin Fields.
And my
in
thing
my
is,
opinion.
my thing is like, okay, because I've watched him play like since like high school. Like you see the talent, like in the sense of like, okay, he throws the pick six to his old teammate, then he comes back the next play and runs a touchdown. I mean, you see the talent there, but like you said, I think in this roster, it's not set up to really help him out. But then too, like he has the talent, but he's still so young in the sense of like he's gonna have those mistakes like that right now, and he's still trying to figure stuff out, especially with the team, and he wants to go ahead and win and put that effort. My concern, as I've been had a concern since he got drafted there, now it's kind of looking like, they feel like, yeah, we could probably win with him if we put something around him. Do I really trust Matt Eberflus and them on like how to really groom him, get him in the right situations? Do I trust Ryan Poles to really like, make the right pieces and stuff like that, get the right guys in for him? Like, I think did Claypool even play this week?
I don't think so. My thing is their draft capital situation isn't the best. I'd be interested to see what they're looking like going in cap space next year. If you have money, you better go out and do what the Jacksonville Jaguars did this offseason and buy an offensive line and get as many weapons as you can for Justin Fields, because I think he's better than Trevor Lawrence. I think if you flip-flopped him and Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville, it might be like a 7-2 team right now.
I could agree with that because, I mean, if we're looking at it like that division, I think even with the talent that they're getting on the defensive side, I think the best years of Green Bay is pretty much over, and we don't know how long this Minnesota train is going to last. I think Dan
2 more
Campbell's.
years.
Yeah, okay, so we'll say even then, but like I think Dan Campbell and them will be out, especially by end of the year. But like,
Which is tragic. I mean, I think
no, it's not. It's Detroit.
But they're the one of the highest scoring offenses in the league. Where did you get
but you
that
can't
from?
win
Like,
games.
I mean, yes, at the end of the day, that is a result driven league, so they need to win games. But
yeah, I want we almost won a whole lot of games last year. You know what I'm saying? But we lost some games. So get him out of there. And you lucked
out, and Dayball was a great hire. I just don't think that Detroit is going to get a great hire unless they D'Amico Ryans maybe.
No,
you don't think D'Amico's going to be a good coach?
I don't think nobody should go to Detroit. They're just one of those teams that, regardless of what you do, like you're gonna be
the
trash.
Browns.
Yes, like it does not matter. Like it maybe not for the Browns, because I don't know, man. It seems like Browns just got whatever kind of money flow over there, but Detroit is one of those teams, man. Ever since they got rid of Jim Caldwell, who brought them their 3 like winning seasons in the longest of time, and y'all got rid of him, and y'all completely regress. I don't see anything on this roster that makes me say like, oh yeah, they got something building towards the future. Jeff Okudah,
Hutchinson.
Yeah, but like
defensive pieces.
Yeah, but the defense still sucks. Like you got Jeff Okudah, you pretty much like at some point, maybe within the next year or two, they're gonna have to go into extension talks and see what you're gonna do with him. You still got Aiden on the rookie deal. DeAndre Swift, he's hit or miss every week. You got rid of Hawkinson. I mean, I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, but
he's
like
injured.
Okay.
So he's missed a chunk of the season. I mean, this week his first week back, he had 10 catches for 119 yards, I want to say, in a touchdown. So it's integral how important it is that offense, but he's going to need help.
And then
always needs Robin.
Jared Goff stinks. I don't trust Aaron Glenn to be a defensive coordinator over there. I don't really know what you're going to do. Dan Campbell, yeah, it's on you. He always says it's on me. You're right. You're damn right it is. Every week y'all lose all the time. I'm sorry, bro. Get him out of here.
They're not biting enough kneecaps off.
No, not at all, man. We still got our kneecaps. You ain't bit a damn thing. You got nubs. Take your dentures out. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not doing anything. Detroit's out of here, man. It's just one of those teams that I don't care. Like, no matter what you're going to do, they're going to be ass. Like, I think Detroit's one of those teams. I think Carolina's one of those teams. Honestly, I believe Jacksonville's one of those teams. Every now and then you might get a glory run where you might sniff something, like when they went to the AFC Championship that
game.
1 year. Yeah, and then they blew the whole team up after somehow. That. And they blew the whole team up after that. Like, you're just not going to do anything. I'll hate to say it, but I think Atlanta's becoming one of those teams too. Regardless of what you put over there, like, it's not going to work.
I mean, I'm not ready to put Atlanta in that because I have to see Desmond Ritter play football first before I say anything.
But, I mean, they're also not. I don't think they're fully invested in Desmond Ritter. I think the fact that he fell to them in the 3rd round, I don't think they see him as the future. I think they just said, hey, this guy is somebody we had high on our list. He fits a need.
Yeah,
Let's
and
take him here. So I don't think he's viewed as the guy for them.
And considering like what you do with Mariota, like, okay, you sign him to the 2-year deal and you're like excuses, well, yeah, I had Mariota with me when I was in Tennessee, if we're talking Arthur Smith. But like, let's be honest, like you're not really asking him to throw the ball. Like Desmond Ritter could hand the ball off a million times if he needed to. Like this, you're not even really at this point, like y'all lost so many games. Like at least see what you got with him. Like otherwise, what was the point? Like in doing that, and I think a few teams are gonna fall flat short on that. Like you got him, I don't think they're securing him doing that. Honestly, people want to write out Jordan Love, but like, how can you write him off? He hasn't played at all. And like, I ask people like, Green Bay continues to lose game after game. Like, at what point do you see what you got in that pick? And they're like, nah, it's Aaron Rodgers, so you're never gonna bench him. But I'm like,
And you already paid Aaron Rodgers a lot of money, so it's like no matter what, it's sunk cost.
so this is what we're gonna do. Why we
You're
got it
screwed.
on him. So let's go ahead and bring it up right now. Cause what they are sitting, what's Packers record?
4-6.
4-6. So we can break this down right now. Let's go down the stretch because all of a sudden, just that I shout out to them for being Dallas. I appreciate that. But like
Me too.
they're
Little
all of a sudden
fluky.
like, yeah, can he get on this world, get on this run and try to get him in the playoffs. They got the Packers next. I'm sorry, they got the Titans next. got
That's
the-
that's Thursday
Thursday
night
night, yeah.
football.
Okay, they got the Eagles after that. Then they got the Bears, which I think still will be a tough game at this point. You got the Rams. I don't know. I just don't want to watch that game at
No,
all.
trash.
Then they got the Dolphins. Then they got the
That's a fight.
Vikings.
That's a fight,
And then you got the Lions.
which they could get taken to the edge again.
And like, what we say their record was?
4-6 right now.
4-6.
4-6.
Maybe 5 and
So how many losses can you like really take out of that? Because like you're not getting the number one spot, and then like your wild card spots, you're not going to be any better than the rest of the teams. Like y'all is done with. So it's like at one point, all right, so do we just see what we got with him? Because the way Aaron Rodgers' deal is set up, okay, yeah, we paid him on this money, but he can come back next year and pretty much, renegotiate and kind of play, sit out however he wants to do. And you'll be back into the same situation it was this past offseason, wondering if he's going to be here or not.
I don't think he's going to allow it unless he's injured. I think that's the other thing.
I mean,
Who knows?
I want to say this before we move on. You have to stay with Rodgers no matter what because they mismanaged Jordan Love so much that what is next year 4 is next year 3.
Should be year 4. I think it's year 4.
Is it?
But anyway, you have, let's say, year 3, year 4, and an option year. But you have to decide if you want to take that option year or not. So you literally have, and Keith's going to do the homework for us, you literally have 1 to 2 years to say or not. Is Jordan Love the future of the Green Bay Packers? And like, you can't make that decision in 1 or 2 years. Like they just mismanaged that situation in the worst way, in my opinion.
Year 3. Well, I think they mismanaged it, but also too, like to their extent, like they wasn't really expecting Aaron Rodgers to do another MVP year as well, too.
I think overall at this point, I think they made their decision on Jordan Love by giving the extension to Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, but I do. Like Rodgers is one of those people I never count out. I do think it becomes interesting. They play the Titans on Thursday night, and they barely squeaked by the Denver Broncos, who are absolute garbage in my opinion. And then they play the Eagles, which, if the Commanders can beat the Eagles, Green Bay could beat the Eagles, so maybe they get back to 6-6. Like, one thing I'll be curious is Watson's 3 touchdown game. Was that an anomaly, or was that his coming out party? That's something I'll be curious to see. Did they actually find something with Watson on Sunday?
I think he started playing well. I don't know if it's gonna be consistent though. I don't think he's about to explode the rest of the season and do the same thing over and over again. So moving this thing right along, Keith, where we at next?
Looks like we're done with NFL takes for now. Last thing we really had to tie in, not too much in the college football scene, just a couple of upsets that we have there. One big upset, both upsets actually, in the Pac-12. We have a upset in which Washington was able to beat Oregon in that one. I didn't watch the game too much, but it looks like they rallied back to upset number 6 Oregon. I think Oregon had a path to the college football playoffs. Other than that first game, getting blown out by Georgia, from then on they were on a roll, pretty much dominating competition. In which they lost here, unfortunately, to number 15 Washington. That'll knock them out of the running for the college playoffs and such. And then
Keith, before you go on, I rely on you because you are the college out of all three of us. You know more about college football than all three. Like, how detrimental was that loss at home against Washington? You might not even make one of the premier Rose Bowls after that. After that loss, right?
Well, I think it was huge. I think it was big in a sense, mainly because if we look at on a run, even if they won that game, you're still considering holding them out. If they win that game, then they keep going forward, maybe get a Pac-12 championship on your belt. They may be considered to hold them out versus for that loss against Georgia, first game of the season. But now that you've lost to Washington, I think that pretty much clears them out of the running. They'll probably finish there. But I think on the contrary side of things, I think that was a big loss. Well, more so bigger loss when we look at UCLA and how they lost to Arizona. Losing to an unranked Arizona there, you already were sitting at, I think they were sitting at number 12. They had lost to Oregon before that. So, I mean, that pretty much knocks them out of the runnings as well. I don't think they would have had a chance.
I don't think they were going to bounce back after that Oregon loss anyways to get back up.
I mean, on the contrary, I look at things like you still have USC that's got to be making a bid. They can still make their run into trying to get into the playoffs, but weak schedule, and then like they're going to play UCLA, which I think is going to be a tough game. So I mean, we kind of see the opening there. If they can get a win there and get some convincible wins, further on, maybe get a Pac-12 championship, we might see it there. But even with that, running the table from there, I don't see how you put them over, say, we see an undefeated Big 12 champion in TCU. And considering the pick was in that Texas was supposed to beat TCU this past weekend, and TCU came in there and got the job done. Completely shut out Bijan Robinson, who I think is like the best back in the country. I think that was major and whatnot. So, TCU still holds on to their 4th spot. I don't really see too much of the top 4 changing. You still get Georgia, you got Ohio State, and you got Michigan. Both of those teams won in convincing fashion in their games, and then I think you keep TCU at the 5.
I think TCU stays in there. I think they stay at 4. And now that running back Miller, he's pretty solid. I liked his elusivity.
And that receiver that they got too, I think he's going to be a top pick.
Duggins is pretty solid. I like him as a quarterback.
Yeah,
a couple other players that I kind of noticed during that game. One who I've seen all season, Texas linebacker Overshone. That dude is a beast. He is an athletic freak. He's gonna be like a Justin Simmons type at the next level. See what he does. and I had this one really kind of brought some questions for me. Ewers isn't that good.
Nah, not really. And
Quinn Ewers isn't that good. Does that mean Arch Manning is starting next year?
I think it, and this is the thing about Texas, man. I think they made a big hush about that one, and the fact that Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning being at the game, does that maybe make him want to decommit? I don't think so in a sense. I think that just leaves the leeway for him to say like, yeah, we're gonna probably start next year, but like I don't really see kind of where they go in a sense. Like, what's the upper ceiling? Because I mean, them and you look at Oklahoma, who's had off to a great start. Now they've been playing terrible. For the longest going into the second stretch of the season. So I
Could
mean, it's
Arch go
definitely
to his uncle's old alma mater, Ole Miss? Do you think?
um
Because I
I
know when
w-
we talked about the game the other night, them and Bama, you said Dart is not the guy.
now
So
I definitely want to broach into that here in a second. But if I have to tie it in, if I'm looking at Texas in a sense, like the way those boosters are with Texas, because Texas has a pretty like unrealistic sense of like where they are as far as when it comes to college football. So I think, we see this year and some key moments almost beating Alabama and such like that. But like I think at one point, like maybe going into start next year, Sark might be on the hot seat as far as when it comes to Texas. But like looking at with Arch, that could be the saving grace. I think that's really the only thing that he has to stand his name on at this point. Cause like when we move over, like you're saying, like Ole Miss, I think that's out of the way. But when we look at Ole Miss in a sense, what Lane Kiffin's doing over there, they had a close one with Alabama, which I was hoping they win, at least for Lane's sake, as much crap as he talks about Nick Saban and some of the other guys, with Kirby's and all of them, like you got to win those games. But I think at most we've already kind of seen Ole Miss's ceiling. Maybe I think when we really look at it, Ole Miss, I would say Ole Miss and Tennessee, for example, they're probably at best always going to be like, a two-loss team, two-loss, maybe a three-loss team in the sense that maybe they get a generational talent like how Tennessee has Hendon Hooker this year, and which you might be able to make some noise, maybe beat a Alabama or beat a Georgia in a sense, maybe make a run there, get you on a Clemson type run. But I think
well,
for
they
the
get
most
Nico
part,
next year.
And I think, I think that's probably the ceiling as far as they go. But I think that's where you look at. But we have to see because moving over, saying with Lane, maybe Lane becomes a head candidate to move not too far over to take that Auburn job that's coming up. But, speaking of Auburn, shout out to Cadillac Williams getting his first win. They beat Texas A&M, and you look at Texas A&M, complete disaster. But the money on the books for Jimbo, I think they've got a whole lot of money over there in College Station, so you could essentially buy him out. I hear talks like maybe the offense is too complex over there at Texas A&M. All the pieces that they got, they're just folding completely. It's kind of hard because Fisher really has nothing really to hang his hat on as far as how
Can't
do
do
they
anything.
look. Yeah, as far as how do they look moving into next year or such. So it's kind of going to be weird there just to see where they go. Cause I mean, you look at the SEC, you still got Georgia that's going to hold it down. I think Brian Kelly, I don't really care for Brian Kelly too much, but he's a great coach. And I could honestly see them making a run maybe next year for a national championship. The way he's gotten these guys, and now he's on an
Beating
even.
Bama helped. That's gonna
Mhm,
flip some commits.
and he's on an evil plane, like a level playing field now as far as recruiting with like Kirby Smart and with Nick Saban and such. I do think this is a one-off year for Nick Saban, just in a sense of like when you're that successful as a program, you're gonna have a lot of different pieces move away, like whether that be offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and such. I think if you combine that with the fact of like your Georgia's being able to recruit on the same level, LSU, Ohio State, Lincoln Riley, he's taking those guys back from California's like the Bryce Youngs and CJ Strauss that you would usually have been getting. You got A&M buying guys. You got Dion down in Jackson State able to snatch one or two guys at a time. Mario Cristobal
He's
still
gonna keep getting
recruiting.
more. He's gonna keep getting more.
And you got Mario Cristobal recruiting. Dabo's still gonna be able to make a little noise. So like, I think the playing field's kind of leveling out more. So you're gonna have to go back and X's and O's.
At the end of the day, all money is whoever has the most money is still gonna win. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Where you can get players, they have more heart
You
about
think,
it. Which,
but look at Texas A&M. Like
yeah,
they're
but
horrible.
this is what, year 1 or year 2 for Jimbo.
This is what Grayson Jimbo's been there for a little while now.
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah,
Me
he's
too,
been there
dude.
for a little while, and this is like the first year. Like, okay, they've had the top recruiting class. Like all those dudes they got. Like, I think it's really gonna go into the X's and O's. Like, for instance, I don't think Bill O'Brien is the offensive coordinator at Alabama next year. That definitely can't happen. And like what used to be their strength in their receiver group and such, like it's not anymore. You see it in the secondary group.
Can we
Not
talk
really
about
been a
that
strength.
Bama game and Bryce Young? His escapability is unreal.
On
That
point,
guy
man.
is.
He's that guy. Like, sometimes the third city mix, I'm always so confused because I'm like, it really looks like an illegal forward pass. Like he's like right across the line of scrimmage, but he just,
He
has
makes
that
plays.
sense of awareness. Yeah, man. Like, and I think at this point, it's weird, man, because it's like, what do you do? Like, do you think about sitting down and just at this point just getting ready for the draft?
I'm sorry, December 4th, 2017 for Jimbo
Jimbo.
Fisher.
All right, so 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. All right, well, he's clearly shit the bed. He's wasted all that money, and it doesn't matter. Those Texas A&M guys are going to Texas. It is what it is.
Obviously, I'm not. Like I said, NFL is my focus when it comes to football. I know a little bit of college, but not that much. How big is this Ohio State Michigan game gonna be in a couple weeks? Like, can you talk about what that's gonna mean? Like, is the loser of that game out of the playoff?
So initially, building up to that, I think that's probably going to be the biggest game of the year. And it's always just because I think just in general, like when it comes to rivalries, I think Ohio State Michigan is probably up there with like
It's
the
top 5.
Lakers and Celtics. It's like one of those rivalries. Like it's definitely I think the biggest in college football. Like I don't think anything comes close to that. And just the magnitude for what it is now. I look at Ohio State coming off this game versus Indiana. They were able to get the running game going, which is what, it's been one of the struggles for them because I think they do have that higher clip to where they can go. But you have to look at it. If we look at it in Ohio State, since, you know, fortunately good reports from Maya Williams, he's going to be good to go. So you'll have him, Trayvon Henderson, in a sense. Now, I think they rely heavily, a little too much on Marvin Harrison Jr. He's getting like 49% of the passing from there. He's quite effective. I think he's top 10 if he were to go in after this year, but he's got another year on the board. So I think you got to find something different, man. I think, by that time, I want to say Jackson and Jigba Smith will come back. And then they got another guy, Nigbo, I want to say. So I think you got those guys. You really got to get it going, start spreading it out with more. And on the defensive side, they got some pieces there, but
you have
I
to
think
control the line of scrimmage so you stop up Blake Corum. Shout out to Blake Corum. He's I just found out he's from Warrenton.
Now I think in the sense of like when you look at Michigan, I think they put in JD McCarthy over Cade McNamara, really because they want to see because you would think he has more upside, but given like how Michigan does, like especially with the running game so heavy, like he may have upside, but like we don't know yet because we really haven't seen it come to fruition. That's going to be an interesting piece as far as what we see with Michigan. So, I think the competition as of now really hasn't been any heavy for them when it comes to this year. And I think one thing that really pans out as far as this game. I think where the game is played makes a big difference as far as what this rivalry goes. Like, for instance, especially with last year, Michigan winning in Ann Arbor, I felt like, especially coming off last week with Ohio State and Kansas State, if that game they played that day in Michigan, like, I think it would be a long day for Ohio State to try to get up out of there. But I look at it now, like this year, it's gonna be played at the Horseshoe. So, like, I think, everybody's checking up the weather updates just to
Home
see
field
what it's gonna
advantage is
be
going
like.
to take a big part of it. I don't think the cold's going to be is going to affect Michigan that much if it is cold.
Now, I think even for that, man, I think that's more so affecting Ohio State, if anything. But if we're looking big picture, like, let's say I think Georgia's still gonna be top one, so they're not worried. TCU, they got a tough little run. I mean, they got Texas out of here. You'll have to play Baylor this week, but Baylor just got blown out last weekend, so I don't think that worries in there. If TCU can do what they need to do, just run the table, survive here, they'll be fine because one Ohio State or Michigan, whoever loses that game is not getting in. So you'll have to look at, what we got: Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. My issue becomes, what do we do in that sense? Because I think I have to look at Tennessee's schedule because I think they still sit at the 5 spot. And it's like, okay, so say Ohio State, Michigan, one of those loses. Do we put a Tennessee in there depending on what they have? Or, like, say USC runs the table. Are we throwing USC in the mix there to get the
No,
4th
I think they
spot?
put Bama or LSU before.
Well, I think
USC.
LSU was over top of Bama.
I got you, Keith. Tennessee's remaining games is at South Carolina and at Vanderbilt.
Oh well, damn. But then too, okay, if they win those 2 games, you got to play the SEC championship game. I believe so. So I think either way, if you have to play the SEC championship game, I don't think they make it out of there. So I think that kicks them out. And then if they don't play in that game, that's even worse. That's just not a good look for them either way. So I think, honestly, if we're looking at the rankings, I mean, we have to see where we have LSU at, but I can honestly see making a run. Like, if USC is able to make a run, I could kind of see them sneaking in there because I just don't see the committee like being able to get off getting like multiple well, I don't know, man. It's a toss up, honestly. It's really a toss up. Maybe they do, but I think I'm probably gonna leave Pac-12 because I mean Ohio State. And then honestly, you have to really look at like how that game is played. Like, say it's a close game with Ohio State, Michigan. One of those teams loses. Are you gonna drop them way back, or are you gonna move them to like 5 or 6? The same way with Tennessee lost to Georgia. I mean, are you gonna drop them way back, like Alabama losing? You
I
kind of
think
gotta.
the way it stands right now is the way it plays out in the end.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm cool with that, but I'm gonna definitely be tuned in for that game. That's
For sure.
I'm always tuned in for that game. Shoot, they're my second favorite team, so I'm always watching that game. Hopefully, they can get it done, man. Because I think for the longest, man, Ohio State's been like, I feel like
They've
they
been
get the
that ass
benefit.
for a while.
Well, I would say that, but like in the bigger sense of things, like Ohio State's in a sense of underachiever. Like the biggest, yeah, if you really look at it, like I hate in the sense like they always get picked. Okay, this is the best offense we've ever seen, like the most, best offense ever assembled. And if we look at, throughout the college football era, I mean, what have they really?
They've
What have
won and been to a multitude of national championships.
they've been to a couple? But like, okay, so was the
Confused.
Urban Meyer championship during the college football era?
No, I mean I think it's been a while since.
Okay, so for the most part, because I think, okay, in the sense of things, yeah, it's been great that you've gotten to the playoffs. But if we're looking at the big things, like they get put on the scale with like the Alabamas and such, like, and their college football, they get to the playoffs just to get blown out. The year that they win their first game against Clemson, they beat the Trevor Lawrence team with Justin Fields. They get to the championship just to get blown out by Alabama. And then other than that, it's kind of like, okay, let's kind of teeter it in and keep them in the running as such. And I think that kind of like at this point, like I want to see you win the chip. Like, that was our biggest knock against Kirby for the long time.
Georgia's winning again.
Once Kirby's got the formula now, like, he's running
Stenson.
away with him. And it's like, you have to look at it like every other guy that's coached at Ohio State has been able to essentially win the title and get, how long are we going to let this go at Ryan Day?
Stetson Bennett is going to be the Commanders' next quarterback. He's going to be a 4th round pick. That's what I'm calling.
I don't know about that, Holly, but I agree with you. Georgia's my bet to win the national championship.
And that's not a bad bet at all. I mean, once Kirby got the formula, now it's like, they're running us out, running ahead with it. And that's my thing. Like, as much as I like Ohio State, it's like Ryan Day. What are we doing here? Like, you're getting the pieces here, but like, we're falling short. Like, and I think for the longest, I always chalked it up to they rely too much on one generational talent to be on that team. Like your Joey Bosa's, your Nick Bosa's, your Chase Youngs, those kind of guys. And we kind of saw that from last year. I don't even want to make this a whole Ohio State topic thing, but
it's slowly becoming.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. Wrap this one up.
let me moderate the next topic. As we always do, we always end the show with transitioning back to the NFL. So are you boys ready to make some week 12 picks?
Let's do it.
I surely am.
I'm hoping to be better this week because, like you guys prefaced this show, I was the caboose of the three of us. I had the worst record. So let's see.
It's gonna remain the same thing.
Let's see. Okay, let's start with Thursday night football. Tennessee and Green Bay.
Tennessee.
Okay, I'm gonna say Green Bay.
Interesting.
Okay, Chicago goes to Atlanta.
Chicago.
I got Chicago.
I got Chicago. Cleveland goes to Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I got Cleveland.
Really?
Yeah. My upset.
Okay.
At Buffalo?
It's my upset.
Okay. Philly goes to Indy.
Philly.
Even though I like me some Jeff Saturday, but
congratulations, Jeff Saturday, on your first win. I mean, I don't know how impressive it is to beat the Raiders. At this point, Bama probably could beat the Raiders, but that's a whole other story.
Okay, we can have a segment about this, but real quick, is that win kudos to Jeff Saturday, or what the fuck is going on in Las Vegas?
It's a shit show.
Keith, what are you saying? If you have to pick one or the other, is it kudos to Jeff Saturday, or what the fuck's going on in Las Vegas?
I'm going to say it's Jeff Saturday got them focused for the week. Kind of like what we talked about with Ron Rivera getting the Commanders focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, because I've been saying what the fuck is going on with the Raiders. So that didn't really change. Yeah, it's over for that.
Okay,
next game, Grayson. And I'm writing these down, Grayson. So I got you.
I know. I am too. Let's keep going. New York. The Jets of New York goes to New England.
Jets. I think that goes 1-1.
I'll go Jets. The Rams go to the Saints.
Ugh.
New Orleans.
I'm gonna go the home team.
I'm going Rams.
Ooh, interesting. KCO game. The Lions go to MetLife.
Oh, I'm picking, Big Apple all day, every day. I don't give a hell who we playing. I don't give a damn who we playing.
I'm going Giants too. That's like the Saints game. I'm going with the home team. Although I think it's gonna come down to the wire, I think at the end of the day, Daboll's a better coach than Dan Campbell.
Yep. Cool with that.
Carolina Ravens going to Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore.
Okay, our game, Ali. Washington going to Houston. I'm gonna say
Washington.
Commanders.
Keith? What's your pick?
I'm taking Washington. I'm taking Washington, and Chase Young has a sack.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. Ooh, probably the most, like we always say, Thursday night football is the garbage game of the week, but I think this might be the garbage game of the week. Vegas at Denver.
We all lose. The viewers, we lose.
I guess Denver.
Yeah, I went with Denver myself.
I'm going with Denver as well. Probably the game of the week. Cowboys go to Minnesota.
Minnesota.
But I think that's gonna be a damn good game. You know I'll be watching it.
Hopefully it'll be pretty explosive, high scoring. It'll be interesting to see playoff potential.
Okay, Bengals go to Pittsburgh.
Cincy.
Taking Pittsburgh.
I'm gonna go with Keith on this. I'm gonna go Pittsburgh.
I like being a lone wolf.
The Sunday night football game, Kansas City goes to the Chargers.
Kansas City again. 2-0.
Kansas City. I just Justin Herbert can't finish the game.
Yeah.
And then what do we have? Monday night football. Oh, San Fran goes to Arizona. San Fran.
Jimmy G, he's focused. He's not playing Warzone.
San Fran at Arizona.
San Fran for sure.
Is Kyler Murray back? I might change my tune.
It doesn't matter.
Colt McCoy.
It doesn't matter. They're getting their ass kicked.
Although
I don't know
that
about
game,
ass kicking.
That
might be a low scoring.
They're going.
You ready for this? You guys ready for this fun fact? Jimmy G is 10-2 when he's not thrown a touchdown pass. You don't need to, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need a quarterback to
like
throw
I
a million
said,
touchdowns.
Arizona's gonna get their ass kicked again. Isn't Buda Baker still out?
Yeah, probably.
I did say Arizona, but for the record, that game is in Mexico City.
Nice. Arizona does that a lot.
But
you got the Bucks, Jaguars, Dolphins, and Seattle on bye weeks.
Yeah, but that's my segment of hosting the show. So kick it back to Leo Keith to
last takes.
Conclude the podcast.
Captain Kirk, do it again this week. Let's Skull Nation.
That's the game of the week.
Look forward to watching that. Heineke, can we throw a better pass or two? Where if you're gonna throw it up, just put it away from the rest of the defense. Don't throw it in the middle of the field. That's all I got for this week.
Hey, 8-2, keep pushing through. That's all I care about.
That's it.
Yep, that's it for me.
Grayson, no last words.
Wrap us up, Keith.
Alrighty. Once again, this has been episode 3 of the 3RD Hammer podcast. Until next week.
Peace.
Have a good night, guys.